Up next is David Denham. He's a Baltimore native. He's a retired United Church of Christ minister. He has pastored in churches around Frederick, Maryland, Houston, Texas, and in Northern Virginia. And he moved to Roanoke in 2007. He led the UCC Disabilities Ministry for 13 years. Also social worker for people with disabilities, supporting persons in their homes and on the job. He's been deeply involved with ministries around the LGBT issues and racial justice. He's married to Ann, and they joined Roanoke chapter of Represent Us last fall. And David published on Wednesday the op-ed piece, and on, was it Wednesday or Thursday? Thursday.
Last week.
And then on Friday, Ann's letter to the editor encouraging people to attend. Please welcome Roanoke's resident Baltimore Orioles fan, the Reverend David Denham.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
And sorry that the Orioles lost in their opening day.
And we were there, and the black hat works at Camden Yards too. Put some orange on it, and away you go. Well, we're glad all of you are here. You know, in the life of the church, we like to refer to everything as being a ministry. And when we do the benediction on a Sunday morning, we send ourselves forth into the community to do what we're doing today. The work of God, the work of truth, do the moral work, do what is right, to love your neighbor as as yourself, and also to hold God always at the top. What we're doing here today is, to use Old Testament language, is prophetic ministry. Remember the words of Simon and Garfunkel when they said the words of the prophets are written on the subway walls? Well, we might not be writing them on the subway walls today, but we are writing them on our hearts, our minds, and we've heard even already our children, as we heard a poem read just a while ago. So what is this prophetic ministry of Represent Us? What is it about? Well, think about your life and work in the community. There are so many issues in the life of this country. Many have been named already. And none of them are going to be resolved until Congress works. What's that say? Congress won't fix corruption. We will. Our issues won't be addressed until we do our we will, and that is what we are about today. We thank Angela Yarborough. It was last April. I understand that Represent Us came into your life.
It's been a year and a half now.
About a year and a half. And just already we have this kind of gathering. Think about this organization for a moment. It is a grassroots organization throughout the country. We have organizations we have 40 chapters around the country. We have 36 Representation Day events, which is what this is, to lift up corruption in the community as a thing that we will, as we're stamping on our money today, that we will stamp out. Taxation without representation is the words that Represent Us is using nationally. And you know, when you think about what Margaret Mead said, never doubt for a moment what a small group can do, because to change the world indeed is the only thing that ever has. That's what is happening. This group is rising from the grassroots all around the country so that we can be about knocking corruption indeed out. So, what do? Well, first we got to recognize we got a problem, right? How can you solve a problem if you don't recognize what it is? Well, we did sit down with somebody. It wasn't Sam. And we said, but it was somebody in our government. And we said, you know, and we began to talk, Ann and I, began to talk about corruption. And the words came back, well, it's legal. And because it's legal, it is not corruption. When I started out doing pastoral ministry in the 90s, as you can tell by my hair, that was a change of life moment in my work. And one of the early Sundays, my second daughter joined the congregation, and she said, after it was over, "Dad, you mean the money that goes in that offering plate is what they pay you with?" That's why I got a few raises along the way, you know. But the fact of the matter is, when she said that, it triggered in my mind that there could be a connection with what I would know that would be in that plate, and also who would get visited. When somebody says good sermon and it's a high giver, might want to make that conversation go a little bit further. You know, there could be all kinds of ramifications, and on that day, I decided I never want to know who gives what in the life of the church. I don't mean that to any criticism for any clergy that might be here today, but that was the life of finances that I chose in ministry. Well, think about it. Our politicians know, and it is legal, just as the offering plate is legal. And so they take the money. They take money for the very interests that they are passing legislation about. On the pipeline alone, the Keystone Pipeline alone, those who voted for the pipeline got 13 times more money in their pockets than did those voting against. We're a cross-partisan group. The two leading candidates on each side for the 2016 election have money coming in from the Keystone Pipeline. So we have to first acknowledge the problem. And that's why we are here together. And that is why we are doing this, I'd like to say, ministry together. Because first we're naming the problem, and then we're telling our friends and neighbors so that they will know and come in and join in with us. So that next year on Representation Day, as it's already been said, we'll the numbers here gathered on that day. But the most important thing is to let folk know that corruption, as difficult as it is to name, is a uniting issue for all the issues. In the life of the church, we unite around faith. And at this point in the walk in our society, we need to unite around corruption. Amen.